Say hey, fellas, what's your name?
Say who?
Say Willie, say hey.
Say who?
Swinging at the plate, say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie, that giant kid is great. When he hits the ball, it's long gone man. Hits it farther than Camp Pecan. Swings the bats like a little lead pipe when they reach the...
Welcome to Pastime, a show that gives you baseball history 5 minutes at a time. Rarely had a baseball had such aggression taken out on it as the one that was flying through the air on May 28, 1951 at the Polo Grounds in New York. It defied gravity, rising higher and higher towards the left field stands. It cleared the wall and then disappeared over the roof. The hitter was Willie Mays, playing just his third game in the big leagues. He gathered his first hit and first home run off of Braves pitcher and future Hall of Famer Warren Spahn, and it also broke an 0-for-12 start to his career. The home run was his only hit in his first 26 at-bats, and it was difficult for the 20-year-old to handle, especially after hitting .477 in just 35 games for the Giants minor league team in Minneapolis. One day, Mays finally broke down and began to cry in the Giants' locker room. As the tears flowed, he was approached by the team's manager, Leo DeRocher, who simply said, "You're my center fielder. It doesn't make any difference what you do. You just go home and come back and play tomorrow." Willie would later credit that conversation as a turning point in his young career. He began to hit, and by the latter part of June, he had brought his average up to .320. He would finish the season batting .274 with 20 home runs and 68 RBIs, and he'd be named the National League Rookie of the Year. Willie Mays, born in Alabama in 1931, was almost signed by the Boston Braves, but the owner of the Birmingham Black Barons, a Negro League team, would not let him leave before the season was over. The Brooklyn Dodgers tried to pick him up, but they were too late, losing out to their arch-rival, the New York Giants, who signed Mays for $4,000 in 1950. After Mays' rookie season in 1951, he was drafted into the Army and he'd missed part of the 1952 and all of the 1953 season. In total, he would miss 266 games. In 1954, he was back with the Giants, and he had arguably the finest year of his career. Mays batted .345 with 195 hits, 41 home runs, 33 doubles, 13 triples, and 110 RBIs, earning him the first of 2 National League MVP awards that he'd win during his career. 1954 was also a very special year for Mays and the Giants as they reached the World Series and played the Cleveland Indians. In Game 1, Willie Mays would make what is simply known today as the catch.
There's a long drive, way back in center field, way back, it is gone! Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
The Giants would go on to win the World Series. It would be the team's last in New York before moving to San Francisco. 2 years later, in 1956, Mays would become the first National League player to hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases in a single season. And in 1965, Mays would win his second MVP award. At the end of the 1960s, Buck, as he was sometimes called, was voted the greatest player of the decade, which was a high honor considering the contemporaries he played with. In the middle of the 1972 season, Giants owner Horace Stoneham, facing financial troubles, traded Willie Mays to the New York Mets for one player and $50,000 in cash. The following season, Mays would help the Mets reach the World Series where they would lose to the Oakland Athletics. After the series, Willie Mays would retire, but he remained with the Mets until 1979 as a hitting instructor. In 1979, Mays would be elected to the Hall of Fame, garnering 94.7% of the vote on the first ballot. Appallingly, 23 of the 432 voters did not vote for him. The Say Hey Kid would go into Cooperstown with a .302 lifetime batting average, 3,283 hits, 1,903 RBIs, and 660 home runs. He is currently 5th all-time in home runs. Mays' numbers and stats are not just Hall of Fame worthy, they are all-time great worthy. And finally, if you want to know how special a player Willie Mays was, why he is easily considered one of the greatest all time, simply listen to the words of the immortal Vin Scully. "People have always asked me," Scully said, "who is the greatest player you ever saw? And without a doubt, the number one, the greatest player I ever saw was Willie Mays." This has been Pastime with John Kemper. Make sure to like Pastime on Facebook and follow the show on Twitter and Instagram. The handle for both is @Pastime Podcast. Until next time.
Hey, fellas, what's your name?
Say who?
Say Willie, say hey,
Say who?
swinging at the plate, say hey,
Say who?
say Willie, that giant kid is great. When he hits the ball, it's long gone man. Hits it farther than Campy can. Swings the bat like a little lead pipe when they reach the